Welcome back. All right, so 5 games in the books, and then there's a news video I'm doing tonight before turning in because of some news that's going down. I'm sure Devils fans have already heard, but for those who haven't, that'll be coming up after I've done this review tonight. And we had 5 pretty good games. We did have extra time, but it wasn't in the East, and I was surprised because I thought both of these games were going to extra time, and then they didn't. All right, starting off with Pittsburgh and the Rangers. This, of course, is post-DeAngelo time. So the Rangers, I thought, played pretty well. I thought it was interesting, too. So we talk a lot about the depth now on the blue line for the Rangers and the guys that are in the lineup. Well, the guys that are in the lineup for Pittsburgh, it's a mixed bag as well because of the amount of injuries that Pittsburgh's going through on the blue line. So I thought defensively this was a pretty good game considering some of the members of both defensive blue lines. There was, of course, from the commentators, talk about the DeAngelo situation early, talk about how the coach, David Quinn, does exchange texts with DeAngelo, likes DeAngelo, had a decent relationship with him, but yesterday, and we'll get into this in the news video later, that it just came to a head. So they got that out of the way first, and they mentioned that Kakko's on the COVID list, and there's a lot of players right now who are starting to get on that list, and it does start to make you wonder how many games we're going to play, and if there's at some point going to be another pause. Just for like a couple of weeks. So the Penguins wearing their reverse retros. I'm wondering with the reverse retro nights if a team doesn't play well or doesn't win wearing them, whether or not that's going to affect how often they wear them. The Rangers get a power play. DeSmith really denied a lot of good chances for the Rangers. The shots were 5-4 Rangers at 8 minutes, and then at 9:05, it's Zucker scoring from Ruedel and Malkin. So Zucker, who had the opening goal in the last game between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers, has the opening goal tonight as well. The Rangers had been the better team up until that point, so you feel like, okay, how are the Rangers going to respond? There's a power play for the Penguins. Penguins pressed with 4.5 minutes left. Late in the period, we get a power play for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's power play is becoming a major problem. Again, it was an issue last year. It's an issue this year as well. Second period, power play for the Rangers. The Penguins then got another chance for themselves. The shots were 4-3 for the Penguins with 6.5 minutes left. This was a slow period when it comes to opportunities. The Penguins get a power play. DeSmith actually had to deny Kreider shorthanded. The Rangers, it looked like they were going to get a power play. And they pull the goalie, go 6-on-5. So they scored while it was 6-on-5. So it's not technically a power play goal. Their power play was 0 for tonight. But Rooney scores during the 6-on-5 from Panarin and Lindgren at 17:42. So that made it 1-1. Penguins get a power play in the last minute, but it felt like that goal for the Rangers was really important. There seemed to be a lot more celebrating when the Rangers scored tonight than in other games. Third period, Rangers had killed 5 penalties thus far with the one that they killed at the start of that third period. They then get a power play. DeSmith denied Buchnevich. Kreider had a tip that went wide. It was a good power play, just didn't get a goal. After the power play's done, the Rangers continued to press. They were pressing for that leading goal. There's a delay of game penalty sends the Rangers to the power play. No, they did score on their power play. That 0 for 4 is wrong. That should be a 1 for 4. So Kreider scores. It is a power play marker from Fox and Panarin at 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Let me just change that. Because, yeah, I know that was a power play marker. I was watching the game. So that made it 2-1, and that felt important. So Zucker then with a wraparound. And what's interesting is the wraparound is deflected out front. The shot is taken by the Penguins, and K'Andre Miller made the save. That was going in the net. K'Andre Miller made the save, and his teammates congratulated him on that. He's had a very good rookie season. So in and amongst all of this stuff going on with the Rangers, Miller's been a really good story for them. 5:35 left. The Penguins get a power play. The Penguins pull the goalie with 2 minutes left. But what that leads to is an empty net goal. So the empty net marker is scored by Panarin from Strome, and it's with, I think it was 0.5 seconds left. A lot of goals being scored with less than a second left in periods, and in this case in the game. So the Rangers make it 3-1. Their record now is 3-4-2. Very important game for them, and they win it in regulation. So Pittsburgh drops to 5-4-1. The shots were 12-9 Pittsburgh in the first, 6-5 Rangers in the second. Both teams had 9 shots in the third. It was a very entertaining game. Final shots 26-24 in favor of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 0 for 6. Rangers 1 for 4. DeSmith saved 21 out of 23. And Shesterkin. You talk about Rangers that needed to have good games. Shesterkin needed this. 25 saves on 26 shots. So the Rangers, they get on the board with this one, and they get the split against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And technically, they get 3 points, and the Penguins get 2 out of the 2 games. So that's to their benefit as well. All right, moving on. So this looked like a regular Bruins-Washington game, and then it wasn't. Halak was in net. This is why. The Bruins, really, it looked like this was going to be another in the long tail of issues between the Capitals and the Bruins' inability to defeat the Capitals. However, early chances for the Bruins. The shots were 5-1 Bruins at 6 minutes, and I was like, okay, I've seen this game. I've seen how this game goes. It's not good. Power play for the Caps. The Capitals score. But the Bruins challenged it for offside. I didn't see I mean, it's close. It was really close. And so they looked at it, and it was offside. But again, so close. I didn't see an angle where I would have challenged it if I was a coach. They may have had angles that we didn't see on TV, though. Halak then snagged a shot from Vrana, and then guess who scores? Chara. And it looked like it just went through. It went through over Halak's pad. From Hathaway and Dowd at 13:26, and then 11 seconds later, it's 2-0. Sprong from Vrana and Jansen at 13:37. So Capitals up 2-0. They then get a power play. Halak stopped a chance for Ovi late in that period, but it's 2-0 Caps after 1. Second period, the Bruins get a power play. It then became a 5-on-3 for 58 seconds. The Capitals, very solid penalty kill. They killed off both. And at this point, as a Bruins fan, I'm saying, all right, well, I did wear the Bruins reverse retro in the live stream today for patrons and members. It may be my fault that they're losing. Like, it's just because there's that whole I don't want to jinx the team I cheer for, so I don't technically wear their jersey on game days. I know. It's a superstition I've let go of over the last couple of years, but every now and then it crops up. Power play then for the Caps, and they score on it. And it's Carlson from Vrana at 8:35. And there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of positive for Boston at this stage. Boston had been outplayed badly by the Capitals, and they just didn't seem to have an answer. The Capitals then went back to the power play. They didn't score on that one, but the fact that this was going in this direction didn't necessarily surprise me. However, Pastrnak is back in the lineup, and it makes a difference. He scores from Marchand and Carlo at 12:37. The Bruins then get a power play. They didn't score on their power plays tonight, but it did help the momentum a bit. So it's 3-1 in favor of the Capitals after 2. Third period. The shots were 4-2 for the Bruins at 5 minutes. And, the Bruins were getting the majority of the chances. But again, you're kind of looking at this, at least I was, going, well, but Washington beats Boston. It's what they do. However, Pastrnak with his second of the game from Sporil and McAvoy at 6 minutes and 8 seconds. McAvoy's now up to 7 assists. Good for him. Wilson then had a fight with Frederick. Kudos to Trent Frederick for being willing to fight Tom Wilson. The Bruins then get a power play. They don't score on it. But after that's done, Craig Smith scores from Lauzon and Ritchie at 13:07. There's Nick Ritchie on the score sheet again. And suddenly it's 3-3. So, again, because it's, 6 minutes, 53 seconds left, my thought process is, well, this is probably going to go to overtime. Right? This is probably going to be an overtime game. However, Brandon Carlo had other ideas. Corelli and Wagner with the assists at 17:23. And all of a sudden, the Caps are chasing the game. They pull the goalie. And with the goaltender pulled, Marchand from Krejci at 18:34, Boston wins this one 5-3 with the huge comeback from 3-0 down. They go to 6-1-2. They give the first regulation loss to the Capitals, who are now 6-1-3, or have won 6 out of 10 if you're looking at it that way. So this is a huge comeback from Boston. We'll see whether or not they build on this. Shots were 15-8 for Washington in the first, 9-5 Boston in the second, 16-6 Boston in the third. Final shots 33-26 for the Bruins. Power plays Boston 0 for 4, Washington 1 for 4. Halak 23 saves on 26 shots. Vanacek 28 saves on 32 shots. And if you were waiting for Ovechkin to pass Gartner and get out of that tie with him, you're waiting another night. And we're getting to the point where we can start talking about Ovechkin not getting goals this year the way we're used to. They're going to start showing up at some point, but how long is this drought going to continue for him. He didn't actually get a point tonight. He had his opportunities, but Halak turned him aside. So we'll see how long that goes for. Next up, Nashville and Tampa. Nashville's going to be glad to have seen the last of Tampa for a bit, right? So early Bolts power play. The Predators then got one themselves. Neither team scored on their power plays in that instance. And then it's Palat from Stamkos at 9:13. And you got to feel for Saros there because it was a 2-on-1 goal. And yeah, just a great play there. And Palat gets the goal. And so it's 1-0. Tampa Bay gets their second power play. They don't score on it. However, Tampa Bay, they're pretty good tonight. And Yanni Gourde, good night for him. He scores from Johnson and Cirelli at 13:59. And again, what is it with these goals in the last second of periods? It's the last second of a period. These goals keep going in, and it's always the same thing. You hear the horn, you see the pucks in, you go, I think that was a goal. Let's go take a look. So it happens again. Braden Point from Joseph and Sergachev at 19:59, or more exactly, with 0.4 seconds left on the clock. You play to the whistle. Always play to the whistle. But that made it 3-0 after one, which told me, yeah, this is probably out of reach for Nashville. Nashville doesn't have much of a chance of scoring 3 against Tampa. At least in my eyes, that's how I saw it at the time. Second period, early chances for the Preds. Tampa Bay gets a power play. Saros made big saves during that penalty kill. And then Cousins with a trip behind the Tampa Bay net. So those are the kind of penalties you don't want. You don't want to be taking penalties at the other end of the rink, which is what Cousins did. So Tampa goes back to the power play, and this time they score. And it's Steven Stamkos getting the goal from Hedman and Killorn at 7:23. The Predators then get a power play. And not only that, but then they get 44 seconds of a 5-on-3. And it doesn't go. Tampa Bay is able to kill off both. And then late in the period, Sergachev was robbed by Saros. Sergachev bound and determined to get a goal tonight. It didn't happen, but he had a very good game. So we go to the third with Tampa ahead 4-0. Not a lot of hope if you're a Preds fan, but Tolvanen scores from Haula at 2:53. It was a nice pass by Haula and a nice bury by Tolvanen. Not much chance for Vasilevsky on that one. And then a little bit less than 3 minutes later, Granlund scores from Ellis and Yossi at 5:41. This is suddenly close. This is suddenly up for grabs, maybe. But you know that you have to get that third goal before you can get the fourth, and so Tampa really kind of locked it down a bit. The Preds did go for more, but Tampa Bay was generating opportunities, and Saros stopped a chance from Point. He also had a denial of Palat in that period too. So they pull the goalie with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left, and they did their best to prevent those empty net goals and to generate opportunities. But in the end, nice play at center ice by Gaudreau, gets it over to Gourde. Gourde gets the second goal of the game at 19:50 and salts it away at 5-2. So Tampa Bay goes to 5-1-1. Nashville drops to 4-5. So there will be some concern in Nashville country about the current state of the Preds. And, of course, me using a different magnet, as I got new magnets for a few today up here that I haven't used in games before. And in this case, these ones I made today. So there's definitely going to be a don't use that Nashville magnet again idea behind it. But yeah, the shots were 12-10 Nashville in the first, 10-6 Nashville in the second. So they outshot them. They just, when Tampa got opportunities, they were really good opportunities. And in the third, Tampa outshoots them 10-5. Final shots 27-26 for Nashville. Preds are 0 for 3 on the power play. Tampa's 1 for 4, so the Nashville power play lets them down, especially the 5-on-3 for 44 seconds. You have to score there. Saros saves 21 out of 25, and Vasilevsky saves 25 out of 27. So, yeah, overall, pretty darn good game for Tampa, who currently sit at number 1 on the power rankings for me, and I didn't see anything out of these games with Nashville to tell me they don't belong in number 1 right now. All right, next up. There's only 3 games on this board. Let's go. Fine. I'm kidding. And really at this point, I'm not surprised. There was no surprise for me. So Vancouver destroys Ottawa, which there's going to be people saying, well, did that hurt them? No, they played well, and then they played well in Winnipeg, and they won that game. But Montreal has their number. Montreal knows how to attack Vancouver. All these turnovers show up again tonight, which you can point at turnovers by Chatfield and Miller and Gaudette and everybody, basically. The reality is, Montreal's forcing these turnovers. Montreal knows when to attack the puck carrier. Montreal has a book on Vancouver that is clearly very, very effective, And now Vancouver has to play him again tomorrow. Demko's going to go in net, first star of the week last week, and Montreal licking their chops at the idea of getting at him. For Holtby, any progress made over the last couple of weeks in his stats takes a nosedive again tonight. And I don't think there's any one Canuck to blame in all this. But again, Montreal's just better. Suzuki scores from Anderson and Drouin at a minute, and that was the first shot. And so I put first shot, oh boy, because I know where this is going. And because we've seen this the last 2 times that they've played Montreal. It's just, this is how this works. The Habs get close, but Myers cleared one in front of the net, although Myers did not have a great game. But again, he has lots of company. I've seen people complaining about one player or another. No, should we sit this game? Should we sit that game? Look, unless you want all the Utica Comets to play next game, you can't bench the guys that were responsible for this. Canucks get a power play during the power play. Turnover. It was a Gaudette turnover, and it's the 3rd shorthanded goal scored by the Montreal Canadiens against Vancouver in 4 games. Lehkonen gets it from himself at 6 minutes and 10 seconds. It was unassisted. So, great play by Lehkonen, and again, it's a forced turnover. It was a forced turnover on the first one, a forced turnover on the second. Gaudette would make up for it by scoring at 8:36. However, it's still 2-1 Montreal. Power play for the Habs. Vancouver did kill that off, but before the period's out, Petrie scores from Byron and Lehkonen at 16:58, and that was a post and in goal. So again, it's 3-1 Montreal after 1, and I can already give more of my attention to this game here that looks close of the 4 that started early. Because I know this one probably going to be close the whole way. The other 3 at that point, I was very concerned were just going to be lopsided victories for Washington, Tampa, and Montreal. And I thought, gee, am I going to see drama tonight? Boston gave drama. So besecond period, Habs get a power play. Tatar almost had one. And there was a lot of almosts. As high as this score is for Montreal, could have been 10. Besser gets a break. Price made the stop. And then Gallagher from Suzuki at 7:15. Tatar forces the turnover. Gallagher's on a breakaway. And there it goes. I think that was the Chatfield turnover. I don't know. It's hard to follow all these turnovers in this game. Petrie then gets a goal from Perry and Kotkaniemi at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. So Petrie on the board there. Vancouver gets a power play. Doesn't score. Habs get a late power play. It does. And it's Tyler Toffoli, who loves playing against Vancouver, from Weber and Petrie at 17 minutes and 11 seconds. So Petrie with 2 goals and an assist tonight. And it's 6-1 Montreal after 2 periods. Third period, Montreal didn't really let up. I'm going to say straight out. They did get a bunch of shots in that third period. It's not like they stopped playing. I'm not going to say they played as hard. Maybe Vancouver just decided, why don't we stop turning the puck over? I don't know what it is, but they have to figure it out before tomorrow, because otherwise Montreal destroys them again tomorrow. So third period, the Canucks get a power play, and I reminded myself on the board, I wrote down these teams play again tomorrow, just to remind myself, yep, this could get worse. And then Beagle scores from Mott and Edler at 11:49. That only makes the score 6-2 instead of 6-1. And that's your final. The Montreal Canadiens destroy Vancouver. They move to 6-1-2, and Vancouver drops to 6-6. Keep in mind, against Montreal, they're 1-3. So Montreal, right now the bane of the existence of the Canucks. I predicted before this season started that while they're not playing Boston this year, to be a bad matchup for Boston, I might dislike how they're playing against Vancouver. But honestly, I can't say that this has made me dislike Montreal, because this is just a case of Vancouver playing like crap. There isn't a lot of light to look at with this. Oh, JT Miller's playing bad. Okay, well, he's not the only one. Myers is playing bad. Also not the only one. Did you see that Chatfield turnover? Did I? What about that Gaudette turnover? Exactly. So there's a lot of company for guys that aren't necessarily playing very well. Shots were actually pretty good for Vancouver considering the score. 11-10 Vancouver in the first, and then Montreal kind of takes over 15-8 in the second and 15-10 in the third. Final shots 40-29. Vancouver 0 for 3 on the power play. Montreal 1 for 3. And Holtby 34 saves on 40 shots for an .850 save percentage in this one. That hurts. And Price 27 saves on 29 shots. This is one of those games that last year Markstrom would go in there and he'd steal it. And after the game, the Canucks might win it 2-1, and we'd be like, wow, Markstrom had a good game. And then people would say to me, well, really, the Canucks didn't allow a lot of really good chances. So yeah, 40 shots against, but really, how many of them were good chances? They're at the bottom of the league for goals against. They're at the bottom of the league for expected goals against and shots against. They are not playing well defensively. I know that they try to play this that, well, our shots against are high, but that's okay. It's not. This is not working, because when you don't have the level of goaltending you need to cover for those shots against, it's not okay. But hey, let's go to the other board. So we had another tale of two games tonight, and that was Calgary and Winnipeg, in that this game started off quite different from where it ended up. Early on, the Jets get a power play, and they score on it. At 4:31, it's Kyle Connor, who is on an amazing run to start, from Scheifele and Wheeler. So Scheifele, Wheeler continue their really strong starts points-wise, and it was 1-0. Now, the Flames did push for an answer, but the shots were 3-1 for the Jets at 11 minutes. So the Jets aren't allowing shots, and this game is close. It is a very close game. The Jets get another power play. They score on it again. That's Connor from Morrissey and Wheeler at 13:46, and guess what? That's the 6th shot of the game for Winnipeg, and Calgary was still at 1. So Calgary has kind of became what they were in the 2018-2019 season. 2 years ago, Calgary was a team that would start slow and then rely on the third period comeback. And it was a situation where constantly I'd be like, well, they can't keep doing this. And then they did. They kept coming back in the third period. This team seems to have that same mentality, and you know what? It kind of works. So second period, 7 seconds in, Chris Tanev with his first as a Flame from Lindholm. There's something they kept mentioning tonight, and I couldn't help but think there was some kind of a way to sync this up with the Canucks and the last game I just reviewed. Tanev, partnered with Hanifin, have not allowed a 5-on-5 goal all season. There hasn't been a 5-on-5 goal scored against Tanev and Hanifin on the ice as a pairing. If there's not a bigger stat to tell you how much the Vancouver Canucks miss Tanev, that's it. So for Flames fans, you're seeing, A, he can get a big goal when you need it, and B, defensively, he is solid. The question becomes, can he play every game? That's always been the knock on him. But you know what? When he's in the lineup, he's pretty damn good. And he is the kind of guy that in the playoff run last year, I thought was a huge part of what the Canucks were able to do. Calgary, if they make the playoffs, they could be really dangerous. They could be a team that comes out of nowhere and ends up in the semifinal and being the best team in Canada. Power play for the Flames, and I want to clarify too. Part of the reason is because in the playoffs, normally defense will win it. Having the potent offense is nice, but having the really strong structure defensively is really, really important. And I think of the teams in Canada, Calgary's defense has probably got some of the best structure. Montreal's in that conversation too, obviously, but I think it might be Calgary that's got the best structure. So the Flames press at 3 minutes. They then get a power play. And there was some desperation in their game in this one. You could see it. Hellebuck, and I put here Hellebuck having a good game. I had no idea how much of an understatement that would be. Even though the stats will tell you, he played okay because his save percentage ends up below 900. But yeah, he was a game saver. Monahan had a chance that was stopped. Flames were the better team in the second period. The Jets get a power play later on, but it's 2-1 after 2, and the Jets just need to bring it home. Not that easy against Calgary. 23 seconds into the third period, Markstrom with a complete denial on Scheifele. Hanifin then defended a chance from Connor, again showing that Hanifin and Tanev, deadly. The Jets get a power play, and Scheifele ends up hitting the post. Keep that in mind, because then Johnny Gaudreau gets a beautiful pass from Valimaki, tips it into the net. Dubé with the second assist at 6:54, and that was great. Dylan Dubé also, it's not on the board, but he had an elbowing penalty tonight for elbowing. I think it was Pionki hitting the head with his elbow. It's 2 games in a row. He got penalized this time, though, so that's a start. But I was thinking, did he train with Georges St-Pierre in the offseason? Like, why is he throwing so many elbows? So, Hellebuck then denied Lindholm. The Flames were back to the power play. Mangiapane was robbed during that, but Mangiapane took that personally. Gets his first of the year from Hanifin and Tkachuk at 13:45. And the Flames suddenly had the lead, and they were full value for it. They were excellent in that third period. Things get kind of scrummy, but the Flames were owning the third at that point. Then the Jets pull the goalie. What happens when you pull the goalie? If you're the Jets, for the second time this year, you score on it. Scheifele from Pionk and Wheeler at 18 minutes and 10 seconds, and that sets up overtime. This was one of the most entertaining overtimes I've seen, honestly. These teams playing overtime against each other, this is the second game in a row that has happened. I want Calgary and Winnipeg to play each other a lot. And thankfully this year it's going to happen. And they're so well matched, and they both have so much skill and speed. It's just great to watch. Fast breaks both ways, big saves by both goaltenders, prime chances for both teams. Both goalies stood on their heads. Neither team had 30 shots, so the fact that both goalies allowed 3 goals ends up meaning their save percentage is a little bit low, but whatever. So we go to the shootout. I think it was round 4 where Johnny Gaudreau pots the winner, but you know, this was a good comeback for the Jets late, and for the Flames, they get the extra point on the road. This is only the 6th game in the North to go to extra time, and a great game. I love the fact that both games between these teams have gone extra time, although the other Canadian teams won't like that fact, because those 3-point games are going to be tough. But Winnipeg outshot Calgary 8-5 in the first. Calgary outshot them 8-6 in the second. Both teams had 12 shots in the third. Both teams had 3 shots in the overtime. Winnipeg outshoots Calgary 29-28. Calgary was 0 for 2 on the power play. Winnipeg 2 for 4. Markstrom 26 saves on 29 shots. Hellebuck saved 25 out of 28. Don't let that 3 goals on 28 shots fool you. Hellebuck played great, and Markstrom was fantastic at the other end. So it was one of those things where I'm watching both games, I'm flipping around, I'm saying, wow. So for Calgary, Markstrom with some big saves, Tanev with the goal. Levo had some good plays there for Calgary tonight. He didn't get on the board, but it sort of felt like these names are on the wrong team if you're cheering for somebody who's not Calgary. But for the Flames, yeah, things look okay right now. The North is going to be a really tight division anyways, but I think that, you know, Winnipeg, Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, and it looks like Edmonton as well. Edmonton will see what they can do. I believe they play tomorrow. And yeah, this division is going to be tough, and there's going to be a pretty good team that misses the playoffs in the North. Going to be a pretty good team that misses the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.